Morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar with Barracuda and Microsoft. And I say good morning. I'm here in south of England. If you're close to me, good morning. But even it's a bit of a cloudy day here, but all good. But it's fair to say good afternoon or good evening wherever you are, which is a common thing to say on a webinar. But as of last night, we had incredibly 54 countries register for this webinar, which is just mind-blowing. So thank you for the interest. That's literally a quarter of the countries around the world showing interest in this webinar. So we're very grateful. Thank you. I can see that there are loads of you joining as we speak. So we want to make sure that we thank you and you know, for your investment in time with us. And we make sure we'll give you lots of good information to take away with you and hope you think it's a good use of your time. We've crammed a lot into this session, and you can see the other two speakers that I will introduce shortly. Two great speakers, Mike from Microsoft and Charlie from Barracuda. And we want to walk through some technology that's probably more important today than it's ever been, really, due to the current situation, whilst underlining the strength of the partnership between Barracuda and Microsoft. And that's really an important part of this story. So what I want to do is I actually want to take you through one slide before I hand over to Mike to kind of set the scene about why the importance of the relationship is so important. And we can rewind, really. We started this together back when Azure first came to market. So when Microsoft came to town with the public cloud, they were obviously wanting to make sure that their customers stayed safe. And Barracuda has a very healthy firewall business. You may or may not know that. And at that time, our products fit very well into the cloud. So that's really where we started. We started protecting Microsoft customers from day one, and we continue to grow that right up to today. That relationship continues, and we're very proud to say that we have over 9,000 customers deployed on Azure at the moment, which is a great endorsement of both the platform, but also the fact that we're able to make sure you can stay safe in that environment. Now, Azure's been around for quite some time, and you know we've learned a lot across that journey and ticked many boxes and been lucky enough to be first in a lot of these areas. And whilst I have some letters here, I will explain them, but just the big words didn't fit on the slide. So you know we were the first security independent software vendor in the public cloud, which is something we're very proud of, and that's taken us into a leadership position today. We were the first to put virtual machine securities with network security, with application security into cloud. We're the first to place solutions into the Azure marketplace. And right now, as it stands, we have the largest security portfolio sitting on Azure. So again, it's helped us to drive the relationship, to drive our position, and really be able to lead and continue to grow from where we are. The partnership is strong. We continue to evolve our partnership. We have a very healthy engineering relationship where the roadmap continues to grow, and I'll touch on that in a second. An interesting statistic, even though that 9,000 there will represent small businesses up to the largest of enterprises, Barracuda protects over 50% of the Fortune 100, which is a great endorsement of our security capabilities. And along the way, you know, if you're lucky enough, you pick up awards, and that POTY stands for Partner of the Year. So Barracuda were Microsoft's Partner of the Year back in 2016. And as of yesterday, if you follow the news as we warm up to Microsoft Ignite, we were lucky enough to be recognized as a finalist for this year as well, which is something we're very proud of. It's almost unheard of to get that kind of recognition twice. So something we're really, really chuffed about, to say the least. So where does that take us to today? So if you look at the relationship now, you know, we have a lot of our own products that we serve to you, our end users around the world. And we did, for the longest time, host them in our own data centers. We now move those and are hosting them from Azure. So we use the public cloud ourselves too. So that's something, you know, like our web application firewall that runs as a service runs on Azure. Our Cloud Security Guardian product that helps you check if your environments are compliant, that runs on Azure. So that's something that we continue to do, and we'll utilize that relationship there. I touched on Inspire, that kicks off this week and next week. And we have a gigantic announcement coming out of the next steps of our relationship, which is something, if you're interested, stick around and listen for those announcements, and you'll see where we're taking this partnership onto the next step, into a new area, which is great and very exciting. So stay tuned for that. However, today, we're talking about the productivity of 365, backing up your environment. So why did I just go through that? Well, a very large part of Barracuda's business is email protection. At the end of the day, we are a cybersecurity company. We make products that protect networks, applications, data, and email. And we are a clear leader in the email protection space. And if you do that, you want to partner with the leader in email. And that's, we generated a relationship with Microsoft quite some time ago, and that relationship continues to grow there. So today, the main point of today is to really showcase Microsoft's capabilities here, what they can do, the productivity of Office 365. Mike is going to walk you through that from a Microsoft viewpoint, and in turn, how important it is to back it up. And then I'm going to hand over to Charlie, who runs all of our data protection architects here and is our resident expert there, to showcase the product as it stands today and what you could literally start protecting your environment with in 10 minutes. So he will follow Mike. But first, I want to introduce Mike Martin. So he's a cloud security architect from Microsoft, which is kind of a bit of a modest title. He's an all-round good guy and general guru in this field, and I'm very pleased and honored that you can join us today, Mike, to talk through this. So he's going to share his viewpoints from a Microsoft point of view, but also then talk about showcase a demo actually of where we're taking our joint technologies together, and that's something that will be coming later in the year, which we're very excited about. So I'm going to say thank you, Mike, for your time and investing in us and helping us present today. I'm going to stop sharing and hand over to you, and wish you the best of luck, and thank you again.
Well, thank you for that broad and expansive introduction, Chris. I'm pleased to be here, and welcome to all the attendees of this webinar. I really see a lot of people joining. This is really awesome, and I hope, first of all, that everybody is still safe around the world, because we live, as you know, in challenging and weird times, and it's kind of weird times bring a need for different tools and different ways of working together and being together, and webinars like these will make it more accessible and will make it more bringing the world a little bit more closer together with each other. So thank you again, Chris, for that, and I'm really happy to be here. So the good people of Barracuda asked me to, first of all, talk a little bit on our vision on how today a productivity cloud should look like. Of course, we have our own, but some trends in here are also applying to other stuff too. What I also am going to show you after my vision on the modern workplace and how productivity should work and what we should keep in mind, and why there's importance of being secure and being able to get a good business continuity plan with tools like those of Barracuda. I'm going to show you a demo of what Barracuda is working on, and going to guide you through this a little bit and show you what the future has in store for all of us. And I can tell you, it really is looking promising from my point of view, that is. But I'll let you be the judge of that after my small session here. So let's kick it off. And let's first start with a little bit of the vision that Microsoft have when we talk about a modern workplace. We, as Microsoft, it sounds a little bit like the Dutch saying, wij van WC Int. We have the vision that a workplace should be where everybody should come as they are and do as they please, but with all security and all governance and all regulations at hand. So it should not be hard to implement those things, and it should be a given and not an option to be living in a world where you can collaborate, and where you can be creative, and where you can have capabilities at hand. And the last couple of months actually showed this pretty well to the world. I mean, lots of partners and customers, and I say partners because I work mostly with partners like Barracuda, but also with independent software vendors. That's a little bit my role in this game. We saw that for those who implemented already something like a M365, those people were really capable of immediately being disruptive and changing the way they worked together. They were able to implement something like a work from home strategy in like minutes, hours, or even just a few days without having a big hassle on the way they are organized and the way they are working together. So from a partner perspective and from a customer perspective, the expectations are also changing towards that, and we've seen that. I mean, if we take everything into account, we've transformed the last couple of months. In 2 months, we went through a digital transformation that would normally take you 2 years. And those who already implemented like something like Office 365, they immediately gained momentum from those. But also for those that didn't do that, they saw that they needed to change the way of working, and that they need to offer other ways of collaborating instead of the traditional ways of being into the office and seeing next to each other. We all know that is so 1980s and so 1990s, and that we should actually be a little bit more open to different standards. So this is something we've envisioned for a long time ourselves. We've been applying this vision to ourselves since the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and we are now really pushing this forward to everybody by means of M365. Next to that, we also see that business models are changing too. Today, everybody needs to be a little bit more disruptive. That's also was very visible during the COVID debut period. You saw restaurants all of a sudden needed to close down, and what they started thinking about was, well, let's not do just only restauranting because we cannot do it anymore. Let's do deliveries or takeaways and make sure that we can have a business continuity plan. And the same thing should apply to your digital business too. Look at new ways of doing business. Look at quickly setting up online models, but you need to make sure that you do this in a secure way. You can work together with others in a digital way by inviting them into your organization, or without having a great impact on security and without compromising security. And you need to make sure that you have a differentiation in your modern workplace. You need to make sure that everybody can do what they need to do, and make sure that the way you inject a new vision on modern workplace, that it becomes friction-free, and that people can still collaborate the way they want it. Now, we also see that when we talk about collaboration and teamworks, there's a diverse workforce that you have. Today, we have calculated that there's an average of 5 generations on your workfloor that are either coming from a phone and fax only momentum. Yes, there are still those people that were onboarded in a company in the late 80s and that didn't have a real like email work related culture. And then we came into that email transformation where everything became a little bit more digital and we started spamming each other. And today we are really more on every generation that has come between it until now. They started to adapt in by means of using different apps, using different applications, using different ways of collaborating. Like the best example that I can give here is Teams, for instance, where you have both an app-enabled environment where you can chat and have phone calls. But you can also, for those who are still into the mailing part and not really up to speed with instant messaging and or direct messaging, you can even let them mail into the Teams channels and have them interact in that kind of a way. So you need to make sure that that everybody in your workforce is along with that same thing. And collaboration,
hey Mike,
yes.
Just jumping in there. Yeah, your sound is a little bit cracking. I don't know if there's if your connection's okay. We're sort of getting a bit of a cracking noise whilst you're talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can fix that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good that you mentioned it. I hope I can fix this. Let's see if I can. Now that's speaker. I don't think I can change it. I don't know whether it's my microphone or whether it's my PC. So I can't really, and I can turn it off because else I'm just having too much background noise. Let's see if I can maybe change it this way.
Yes, someone's just pointed out it's kind of like it's from a helicopter. That's that kind of.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Is this better? Or isn't it?
And we'll see how we do.
Okay, right. So I totally apologize for that. I don't know how this comes, but
these happen on webinars. No.
Yeah. So where was I? Okay. So today we are in a really team and collaborative motion when we talk about teamwork, and 80% of an employee's time is actually spent in collaboration, whether it's meetings, whether it's talking in chat based, or working together on documents and or projects. It's really collaboration that is key inside of a team. The individual is kind of gone unless they have a specific role, but still they need to collaborate with others. Yeah? And the fun part is that, and that's what I already said before, during these times, globally, we can see that about 72% of the workers in 2020 became remotely available. So where you work doesn't even matter anymore. In the past, you need to have a fixed phone at your desk. Today, you bring your phone anywhere. You bring your documents anywhere, whether it's on a mobile device like a phone, or whether it's on a tablet, or whether it's on a PC. You can go and sit in a coffee shop. You can go and sit in your own bedroom if you want to. You can collaborate from anywhere all over the world. As you mentioned already, when we opened up this discussion, you said, "Oh, well, good morning, good evening, and or good afternoon for anybody in the webinar." And that's indeed the thing. We are no longer bound to the 9 to 5 rules. We are no longer bound to the location, and we are no longer bound to any device. We are just the collaboration and team, and the way we work together is just the persons now that are there, and no longer the tooling itself, because we have all these capabilities at hand. Now, a little bit shut off. There's some trends that are impacting the modern workplace. First of all, it's a collaborative part, and I already elaborated a little bit on that. So as I said, there's already 80% of the time is spent on collaboration, and it's and it's more and more team-based instead of individual-based. So you get more and more team interaction. And this collaboration brings an overwhelming amount of data, whether it's either in documents, or whether it's in the telemetry consumed with it, or with all the chat history that you have. There's a lot of information that you have. And a lot of people, and specifically knowledge workers, they find it really hard to find information back. And that's why a good integrated tool set is very important. With all this data, you actually also get a growing amount of endpoints where you have a growing amount of security threats. And we can see, and we notice that there's at least an increase in security breaches. And we saw a lot of, we did a lot of research ourselves because we have a lot of telemetry coming in from all the different endpoints that we are monitoring, not only from your perspective, and I mean with that, that we monitor the systems that you're working on, and we don't monitor your data, just to make that clear, but we use all the telemetry that you're using with Teams and with Office 365 and M365, combined with the telemetry that we have on the breaches on our own system, and we noticed that we had a 3 times increase during this period of attacks and breaches, or tried to have breaches over the last period. And for that, we have a lot of countermeasures in place, and we do a lot of AI augmentation on those things, and all these specific telemetry endpoints and all these specific telemetry metrics. We use AI on top of that, and we can actually say that by improving and learning from that AI, we can improve our products and make sure that we get a lot of work productivity back to you. And the goal is to have at least a recovery of 6.2 billion hours of work productivity globally by 2021. With the reach that we have today, with everybody working from home and working more digitally, we will certainly achieve this amount of recovery. So let's talk a little bit about what we see as Microsoft 365. So for those who don't know, Microsoft 365 is not only a, excuse me, this is something which is a little bit annoying, but I have a little hay fever, so the sneeze is not out of the question in this case. So I have to, from time to time, I have to wipe my nose. So my apologies for that. Microsoft 365 is not only what you know as Office 365, but it is a combined Office 365, the security package previously known as EMS, and the Windows client. And all these things combined will give you the best of suite, and not the best of breed. And what I mean with that is it's a full suite that gives you 4 pillars of an empowerment to your employees. First of all, it can unlock creativity. We are, by means of AI, we are adding a lot of cool features in Office 365. Not only for making your presentations a little bit more fun and less dull, and give you good design insights, for instance, but also giving you other ways of collaborating, and giving you better ways of doing your job, period. If you do that by means of a full suite, you will allow your employees to be a little bit more happy, and also avoid that one thing that every IT administration in a company fears, this little thing called shadow IT. And if you can do that in a safe way, like Microsoft 365 was foreseen for, you will actually give them that creativity back to your end users. As you know, Microsoft 365 is also built for teamwork, not only to the collaborative tools like SharePoint Online and Exchange, but of course, the big bet for us is Teams, which actually is a hub for everything else underneath the Microsoft 365 umbrella, but because you can collaborate inside of Teams, inside of your PowerPoint presentations, you can collaborate there in a safe way. You can look at your SharePoint collections and stuff like that. And this brings the integration for simplicity back. And with that integration for simplicity, you also give a managed way of making sure that that entire environment is being secured. Because the one thing that you try to avoid as a good household father of your organization, as an IT responsible, is that you will reach a data breach or a data leakage, because that's the least thing that you want. And we integrated security from the bottom, meaning that if you set documents for highly confidential, and inside of a inside of the information management policies that you've set up for your company, nobody can share data for outside of your company, and that's everything everybody dreams of. You want to make sure that you collaborate, but only on the correct ways, whether it's with people on the inside of your company or with people in the outside of your company. On top of that, we also have intelligent security. We have something we call the Graph, which is a interactive API that you can call throughout the entire Microsoft 365 environment, and it can connect your secured endpoints and read out the telemetry from that and interact with those with that telemetry based upon the things that your user is doing, whether it's on his PC, whether it's on a document, whether it's signing in from a location that you don't know. So that way we have a better understanding how a person is working and whether he's working in a secure way. And these things can then be reported back in things like, let's say, Sentinel or Azure Security Center, or even the Compliance Center in Microsoft 365 to see whether people are actually working in a secure way, whether they're not clicking any malicious links, or if there was any data breach, or where there was any interaction which can compromise your organization, which can make sure, which can lead into a lateral movement of attackers, for instance. These can all be monitored by the means of the security graph, which we have applied intelligence on top of that. So next to that, you also have in these new kind of ways of working, there's also the maintenance of compliance. We have a lot of challenges today when it comes down to regulation and compliance. And first of all, your data is growing exponentially. And that's a 50% year-on-year growth. And that's a curve that you can actually take a look at from multiple point of views. And everybody's saying the same thing. Storage, just like it's a little bit like Moore's law. It keeps on growing, Yeah? But with that complexity of a lot of data, you also get next to that a lot of regulatory updates per day, and there's a lot of regulatory bodies that you need to keep into account. You have regulatory bodies specific to an industry, let's say, for instance, HIPAA or PCI compliance that you need to make sure of, but also things like GDPR, something that a lot of people are already aware of, and that you need to have in place good policies to make sure that you apply to GDPR and that you can set the correct outcome on those, that you can react in a correct fashion, that you can make sure that you don't have any breaches, and that you have breaches that you can really act to it within the next 72 hours and stuff like that. Yeah. And a lot of people, especially executives, are not sure what compliance standards are applied to their organizations because of the complexity of all these regulations. And if you have then a system that can help you there, and we have those systems also in place to help you within the M365 environment. We have a Service Trust, we have the Service Trust portal, we also have the M365 compliance portal where you can check your compliance of your organization and also for your data. So we try to help you there with maintaining your compliance in an easier way. Next to that, you also need to make sure that you have retention policies in place, and we do a little bit of archiving on your behalf, and we do a little bit of retention, but it's not a full backup solution or a full archiving solution because we only do that for a year. But if you want to have longer term ways of implementing these, you need additional solutions. And this is one of the reasons why I'm talking about this, because this will lead into what I'm going to show you later on with the tooling that Barracuda is building, and they provide better solutions for that. Yeah. An additional thing that makes it harder is that after you collected all that data, it's harder to find and discover all this data. As I mentioned earlier, the knowledge workers have a lot of issues finding data back. But what if you have GDPR applicable data, PII data, and you need to implement something like the right to be forgotten? that data needs to be not only found inside of the active data, but also in the archiving data. And you need to make sure that if a person is willing to be forgotten, that data will also be deleted from that archiving solution if you want to comply to those regulations. Now, compliancy is not only the one thing. I already talked about the challenges that we had during this period, and we also need to make sure that we protect against attacks. Today we have telemetry where we have in 2019 11 billion, that's billion, malicious and suspicious messages blocked in 2019. That's a lot of email with a potential threat to your organization. Based upon that data, we can make our systems better, and companies like Barracuda can also improve their systems based upon that telemetry that they have, because they can learn also from those by implementing the security graph, for instance. We make our services better, and we can try to protect you a little bit better from that way. And as you can see, we also do a lot of user activity profiling, up to 300 billion activities that we profile every year, and that is only on the rise. You know? So we try to protect you from end to end. And as you can see, there's trillions of signals over different kind of endpoints, whether it's Windows, whether it's Xbox, whether it's identity or email or documents. And we try to give you 100% coverage, but we all know that 100% coverage is not possible. There's always something that can go wrong. There's always a zero-day exploit or another thing that can possibly go wrong, or a user that is, because typically it's a user interface that went wrong, and we cannot foresee those things. Although we try to be as proactive as possible, and we try to improve our tools on a daily basis. And for that kind of situations, a backup is something that you really need. Let's say that you have a ransomware attack, then you don't want to be there without a good, decent disaster recovery mechanism. And you want to make sure that you restore all your data, that you're capable of restoring all your data in an easy and keep it simple way, and keep it stupid way. So there's a lot of things that we can do as Microsoft, but we don't have everything covered from that perspective. So hence why a tool like Barracuda CBB is a really useful tool. So we do try, however, to help you achieve continuous compliance by means of compliance management and service trust portal, as I already said. We also try to do a lot of insights on auditing to see who has access to what, and make sure that nobody can access data that you haven't given any rights to. We make sure that it's bound to access control. And of course, encryption is a very important key here. Yeah? But with the data governance part in place, and with additional solutions and extensions, you can make it even better. So the challenge today is, do you know what requirements you need to meet for those regulations? And do you have that in place? Do I need to apply to ISO, for instance? Do I need to apply to GDPR? And do I have enough control on top of that? And again, this is where I stay to the point. Remember the example that I just given about the right to be forgotten. This is something that you need to keep in mind. If you forget something about somebody, you need to make sure that you do that on all levels, and that you have a good overview on where all this information can be found, and how you can do that in an easy way. Yeah. But it's not only you, it's also about your cloud service providers. We are compliant, and we have a lot of compliancy certificates that we gained ourselves. And if you build your solutions on top of our solutions, we cover a lot of ground for you already. Also, you need to keep in mind that you also need to work in a compliant way. but you can make sure that we have that we can take a look at the risk assessment that you have in place, that it will apply to making your world a little bit safer, and that we can help you there in those scenarios. Make sure that you have a data governance strategy, and this is my entry point to again to the what you need to know, what you need to delete, and where to delete it, and if something is wrong, can I restore it? Because that's also a very important part. And also, in a safe way, is that data encrypted? You have control over all the keys that you have. So a governance strategy is very important, and additional tooling can help you there. So with that, I'm going to talk a little bit on the introduction to the collaboration again on Microsoft and Barracuda, and what we did together on that level of making that data governance and that data protection a little bit better. Is Microsoft and Barracuda, as Chris already mentioned, we have a long-standing partnership, and he was right. Barracuda was the first in the Azure marketplace, let's call it, before it even was called marketplace, where they provisioned their MVA solutions on top of their WAF, so their web application firewall, and there were two tools. I don't remember the second one, but WAF was the most important one, and that was the one that I used frequently at my own partners. And they were very keen on collaborating, and they needed to make sure that they understood the way things were going. And immediately Barracuda had a good mindset and a growth mindset on that, and they start building their technology also on top of a modern architecture. So they didn't waste any time of we did it that way 20 years ago, let's keep on doing the way we did. No, they improved their solutions, and they improved their technology, and they made it even more cloud aware and cloud ready. And the next generation of their products, which I will show you in a second, is probably being created for with the end user in mind, but also with a partnership in mind. And this specific product I'm gonna demonstrate you is being joint engineered. Some of our internal product groups have been working together, and some of our engineers have been working together with Barracuda to deliver a first-class product built on top of our own cloud, built on top of Azure, as Chris already mentioned. And we want to make sure that it is a product which Barracuda can be proud of, but it's also very easy to use as an end user and without any hassle when your building is on fire, either literally or in a figure of speech, because that's the one thing that you want to try to avoid at all costs in a crisis situation. So again, I'm going to show you a little overview on what Barracuda today has as offering in our Azure cloud. And we're really proud of having a partner like this. Sorry, an ambulance passing by. We really are proud of a partner like Barracuda on all the products that they brought. Do check those products out. If you're already using them on-premise, they do have offerings where you can bring your own key from on-premise. There's a lot of features that they have, and still with the same quality in mind. So if you today are moving into the cloud whether it's one cloud, whether it's three clouds, we have a 3-cloud strategy, whether it's Azure, or whether it's Azure and M365, or whether it's Azure M365 and Dynamics, they have a good solid solution that they can put in front or next to the Microsoft offerings. So, but enough on the theory, let's give you a nice insight on how their tool is being built up and how easy it is actually to use. Because if I can use it, anybody can use it. Trust me on that one. It's fairly simple, and it's even looking pretty cool from that perspective. So I hope the screen size is big enough. Maybe make it a little bit bigger so that way we can see it very well. So if you log into the cloud-to-cloud backup solution that Barracuda and Microsoft built together, the first thing that you need to do is configure it to all the different parts that you have in your organization that you want to protect from a backup perspective. And it's fairly easy. You need to activate it first, and then you can configure it. And for me, this demo environment is already set up. It has been configured for OneDrive, Exchange, and SharePoint. And there will probably be more angles at a certain point in time that they can put in there. So that product is nearly from finished, meaning that there will be always more features added, and that's the thing with a product, and especially with a SaaS offering, that will always grow to make the end user feel more protected. So you configure it, and then you get actually to this kind of welcome page. There's a dashboard that you can take a look on, where you can check what the status is of all the configured endpoints that you have. You can see when the last backup was being made, when the last restore was made. So this is a first for the dashboard protection, for the dashboard monitoring. Let's call it that. But the biggest and easiest thing that you need to do is, of course, use it as a solution. So I'm going to give you an example of Exchange. So let's say that I want to back up something from a perspective from Exchange. So a lot of people just do that. That Monday morning where you don't have enough coffee, and you start doing a lot of things in your mailbox, and you have like, oh shit, said the S word. Oh, I deleted this mail, and yeah, I didn't back that up. Well, those moments happen, right? So this tool can actually also help that for that oops momentum, but not only from that oops momentum. Let's say that you also have a ransomware attack, and that you quickly need to restore mailboxes or whatever files that you need to restore. This can really help you quickly. So there's this one user that deleted the mail, and it was something with budget, and was the only thing that he could remember. So let's take a look and look it up, what he was talking about. So I actually can say, budget, here we go. So there's this mail on budget review that was deleted, and that was deleted actually yesterday, but I see here a mail that is on July 7th. So let's restore that one. Click on the restore button, and I can even now choose whether I want to restore it in the original location or whether I want to restore it on another location, let's say in somebody else's mailbox. And from there out, you can immediately make sure that let's say, for instance, that mailbox was compromised, you can push it into somebody else's mailbox, so that at least you can quickly add to that data, and you can look these things up. I just do restore, done. I'm done. I just have to wait now until the spinning wheels and the gears are put into action, and until the restore is being done. But as you can see, it was fairly easy. I looked it up, I clicked it on, and just press restore, and it magically got restored without any hassle. So the e-discovery part here and the search is very well integrated, and it will make it easy for you to restore something when you even only have a few key points that you want to mention here. You can filter on any of these types, whether it's a mailbox, whether it's on the type of thing inside of a mailbox, because as you know, Exchange has mailboxes, but they also have calendar types, and they have contact types, and they have tasks in there too. So you can easily filter on those. You can set time ranges and stuff. So it makes it really easy for you to restore things. You can do the same thing for SharePoint. You can do the same thing. I can say I want to fully restore, let's say, this list, and I want to fully restore a form library or a site page. I can actually just do that. I go to the site pages, and I just do a restore of the home page, for instance, and I can easily do that just as simple as I demonstrated with the Exchange. Also for OneDrive, if you have files that have been deleted, and especially this is very useful for ransomware as an additional protection. Microsoft offers some protection there, but this is way more easier from a individual file, or from a full restore of a folder file, and also for an archiving experience. So as you can see, fairly easy situation. You can do some auditing on top of that. Who did what? You can see when something worked and when something was initiated. You can fiddle with some settings, but it's a really complete product already. more features will be added, and I will be very happy when this feature will be available to all of you, and I hope everybody will be able to use it. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Chris. I hope I didn't spill too much time, and I hope Charlie has still enough time to do his part of the show. Thank you for listening. I hope you found it interesting.
That's tremendous, Mike. Thank you very much indeed. And we'll wrap up in the end. And I know Charlie's been answering some questions as we go along, so feel free to put those in the chat box or the question box rather. So yeah, straight without further ado, straight onto you, Charlie, and we'll wrap up at the end. But thank you again, Mike.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. That was excellent, and thanks for the introduction, Chris. Yeah, this is the last segment of the webinar now. I'm going to talk a bit more about our cloud-to-cloud backup offering to protect your Microsoft/Office 365 environment. We've been in this business now for about 4 years. Currently, I'll give you a little bit of a history roadmap. We are managing our own cloud data centers in Europe and all over the world. We have 3 data centers in North America, 2 in Europe. We have 1 in Tokyo. We have 1 in Australia. But the plan is that when we launch the next release of our cloud-to-cloud backup, which is coming out in the autumn, that will be running natively in Azure. So as part of the migration into an Azure strategy, we are moving our processing. The product has basically been completely rewritten from the ground up to run natively in Azure, working with Azure services to get the best performance and optimization of the storage in the environment. So I know that was a question that just came up on the Q&A just before I took over. So I hope that answers that question. But yeah, I'm going to go into a little bit about what Barracuda do before we dive into specifically around Office 365. You saw there on the Azure Marketplace slide that Mike shared that Barracuda have quite a broad range of solutions that we are now running in Microsoft Azure. So we can secure, for example, things like remote access. As we've seen this year with the COVID-19 pandemic, organizations were basically thrusted into a position where instead of just a small percentage of the workforce working from home, which most businesses have had in place for a number of years, it was like 70–80% of companies were having to work from home. And that then suddenly put a strain on their IT about having you know, SD-WAN capabilities, VPN connectivity, working from home, making sure that the connections were secure. So Barracuda does a lot in the remote access department around secure SD-WAN optimization, but also web application firewalls and our next generation firewalls running to secure cloud compute environments as well. Barracuda also have a huge range of email protection solutions in place. You may have heard of our Essentials bundle, which covers everything from spam gateway protection all the way through to inbox defense using API intelligence around Office 365. On that, we've actually seen a huge increase in spear phishing attacks since sort of middle of February onwards. There was nearly a 700% increase in COVID-19 related spear phishing attacks that we detected and stopped as part of our inbox defense, account takeovers, all sorts of various spear phishing and social engineering attacks. And that continues right to this current day, that there's been a huge increase in the last 3 or 4 months since lockdown occurred. A lot of fraudsters and malicious organizations, let's call them, are really targeting government websites around our furlough scheme in the UK. You know, the income tax has been fraudulently attacked, ranging from a whole range of scams. So it's a really important area, because as we know, a lot of malware attacks start from emails received in your inbox, where one of your employees may accidentally click on something that looks absolutely innocent. It looks like it may have been sent from one of your colleagues, with an attachment saying, can you review this document for payroll? And you click on a bogus Word document and it launches a ransomware attack on your desktop. So it's that easy. Obviously, we're going to be talking about data in a lot of detail because that's really my area of expertise. And web applications, as I say, web applications have a huge amount of backdoors potentially when you're using apps on your phone or websites or API calls into web applications. A lot of fraudsters target backdoors, especially applications running in the cloud. A lot of businesses, when they're building web-based applications running in the public cloud, security sometimes is overlooked, and it's a really important part of giving organizations and consumers confidence about using modern web-based applications. Right, back to data. What we've also seen around the world is a huge increase in ransomware attacks. Last year alone, there was a 300% increase. So ransomware attacks are not new. We've been talking and hearing about ransomware attacks in the media for the last 3 or 4 years, maybe longer. I know about 3 or 4 years ago, the NHS in the UK, a health service, was attacked really badly with various ransomware attacks. It almost crippled our IT systems in our National Health Service, but they're getting more sophisticated. It's not so much the payload that's the problem, and I'll come on to that in a second. It's also the fact that the way these ransomware attacks are initiated is becoming more sophisticated. You know, you're receiving emails, what you think is from one of your work colleagues, and often it's a fraudster doing a social engineering attack. And that's what dupes people to click on things that they wouldn't normally click on because, you know, it looks like it's a friendly email and it's quite not. So over the last 12 months, 1.5 million companies were attacked, which is quite frightening actually. But it also reminds everybody that we have to be on our guard, and that is a combination of end user awareness and training, making sure that your workforce are tested on a regular basis to make sure that they don't fall for scams very easily. You know, they need to be sort of trained up. You also need really strong endpoint defense around your desktops, your laptops, your iPads, your work compute, because this is where the attacks. You heard from Mike talking about endpoint attacks that Microsoft are monitoring in Office 365, and he's absolutely right. This is where the weakness in the guard comes in, is that they're the parts that hackers exploit to get into your Office 365 tenancy. The Office 365 cloud itself is very secure. Microsoft are running tons of security scanning on a constant real-time basis to protect your data the best they can. The risk comes from endpoints and people, I suppose, lowering their guard and are letting in these harmful attacks come in. We've also seen a huge increase in Office 365 adoption over the last 2 or 3 years. In 2018, about 56% of organizations globally were using Office 365. At the end of 2019, that grew to 79%. I genuinely believe by the end of this year, we'll probably be looking at around about 90% adoption, thereabouts. It could be up or down, give or take a few percent. But the key point is, and as Mike alluded to in his presentation, Office 365 is a perfect platform for work and collaboration and managing your office environment. You know, everything that you can do in the office, you can work from home. You can collaborate with your colleagues. You know, you can access all your documents in your OneDrive. You can access your SharePoint, etc. And there's also other applications like Dynamics, CRM, Planner, you know, other applications that are really becoming popular now. Interestingly, one thing that we saw a huge increase is that when the lockdown occurred in Western Europe, I should say, you know, probably from about middle of February onwards, there was a huge increase in the use of Microsoft Teams. And that's no surprise, because if you're an Office 365 customer, Teams is a perfect tool. It comes part of your Office 365 package. You can securely video conference with your colleagues. You can have group chat conversations, personal chat conversations. You can collaborate on projects and work documents and all see what someone's sharing, and people can leave comments and update things. It's a great tool, and huge increase. There's also, as a side effect to that, a lot of copies, duplicate data held on remote devices and laptops. For example, when you're working on documents, you normally store a copy in your My Documents folder. That normally then synchronizes to your OneDrive folder in the cloud. But there's also, the copy in the cloud is quite safe. Microsoft have got lots of processes in place to protect your data. It's a copy on your laptop or your iPad that becomes more at risk, of being theft or loss. The other challenge we see is that there is a bit of lack of understanding around the need to protect data in Office 365. 1 in 4 businesses don't believe they need to do anything extra. They just believe that Microsoft have all the protection they need already in place. They do and they don't. It's a bit of a mixed gray area, and I have to be careful because we're in collaboration with Microsoft on this webinar, but I think Microsoft will agree themselves that they do have a base level protection. They provide site collection bins to make sure that any deleted document, either from a SharePoint environment or Exchange or OneDrive, will actually get held in a recycle bin. A bit like the recycle bin on your desktop. If you delete a document, it goes into there. It only gets permanently deleted if that recycle bin is emptied, okay? And in your Office 365 environment, those recycle bins exist, okay? But the problem is that a recycle bin is not a backup, and I'm going to explain a little bit more why I believe that is the case. Now, Microsoft also states in your terms and conditions that you sign, there is what we call an MSA agreement, a Microsoft Service Agreement. And in that document, because obviously when you sign up for Office 365, you sign tons of legal documents, T's and C's, and most people just say accept, agree, continue, next, and they don't actually read what's in these documents that they're signing up to. But it clearly states in the MSA section 6B that in the event of an outage, Microsoft will basically do everything they can to make sure your Office 365 tenancy is always available. They will strive to keep the lights on, etc., etc. But in the event of an outage, you may not be able to retrieve all of your content or data that you've stored. And they make a recommendation that you should regularly back up your content and data that you store on the service using a third-party application or service. So that's Microsoft. It's a bit like, parking your car in a pub car park, and you come out at 11 o'clock at night and you find that your stereo has been ripped out of the car and your speakers have gone, and you go into the pub and you say to the guy, look, I've just had my car broken into, and the guy says, did you read the sign on the wall in the car park? It clearly states that we're not liable for theft in our car park. And exactly that, Microsoft are saying the same thing here, that ultimately it's your responsibility to protect your own data. And Gartner also say this as well, that Office 365 does not offer a comprehensive backup and restore service, and Gartner clients have reported data loss from end user errors, accidental deletion, etc., but also malicious attacks and application errors causing data loss as well. Another thing that also confuses customers a little bit is that Microsoft provide a lot of integrated data governance, and Mike is nodding his head there. It's very true to say that most Office 365 subscriptions, certainly the E3 and the E5 subscriptions, also include what we call data governance or email archiving. Now, email archiving is absolutely crucial. It's a really important part of any compliance process for a business. It protects your emails from litigation. It provides a mechanism that, for example, if you had to attend a court of law, it could be an unfair dismissal case against an employee. 9 times out of 10, email evidence will need to be produced to support either the employee who's been fired or the company to protect their reputation. Email evidence is normally called upon. Now, an email archive will basically capture every email that's sent and received into an organization, and it stores it into a secure archive, which has to be proven that it can't be manipulated or modified. Your data is encrypted and stored in a way that nobody can change the information. So when you're producing email evidence, you've got to do these really clever searches where we call tag searches, where you can actually find these needles in a haystack. You can retrieve these specific conversation emails or whatever, and you can then put them into what we call a legal hold, which protects that information whilst it's in court, and nobody can access it or touch it except the compliance manager who's dealing with the archive. Okay, so archiving is absolutely important. And the reason why I mention this is that a lot of customers get confused and think, oh, I have email archiving, I've got data governance, why do I need a backup solution? The reason being is that the backup is required for a completely different use case. A backup is required to bring you back to a point in time that you can access the data to run your business on. And you will also notice that email archiving in general is mainly focused around email. So you've also got to think about all your other data sources in Office 365, like OneDrive, SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, etc. There's a lot of data held in your whole Office 365 tenancy. So it's really important to understand the difference between backup and archive. Now, the Barracuda cloud-to-cloud solution is a great solution. The first point is it's a SaaS-based offering. So when a customer signs up to our cloud-to-cloud backup, they literally do not have to install or configure anything relating to the infrastructure, the storage. They basically log into a web-based portal, which we call Cloud Control. And in there, you saw that when Mike showed you a little demo there. Cloud Control not only allows you to access our backup data protection products, you can also access your email security, your firewall solutions. Every Barracuda product you can manage from a single pane of glass. But in there, you basically run through a 10-15 minute setup. You basically have to sign up as an Office 365 global admin to give you your organization permission to search your Office 365 tenancy. Then you can basically add in all your various data sources, set your backup schedules, your retention policies, and away you go. Now, one thing that's really important, which is what Barracuda provide, is unlimited retention around both your storage in our backup cloud and also the retention policy itself. So we license the product by the number of active users. It doesn't matter if you've got shared mailboxes, archive mailboxes, etc. It's just the number of active users that are signed up to the system. You don't have to license all the organization. We do recommend that, but we do work with, for example, universities where they may say that, you know, we want to protect the staff accounts, but we don't want to back up the student accounts. So we can split it out if required as well. But the great thing is that you're not under any time pressure to reduce your retention policy, to reduce the amount of storage you're holding for the backup. Because we don't license that way, our default policy is that we will keep all your data forever. That's your dailies, your weeklies, your monthlies, any custom backup schedules. The default retention policy is to keep the data forever. And that puts you in a strong position that if you need to go back a year, 18 months, 2 years, if you have somebody that leaves the organization and you reassign their license to a new employee, we will keep all the historical backups of the ex-employee, for example. And if data is required to be restored, we can pull that back from the last recovery points taken before their mailboxes were deleted, for example. So the product's really easy to administrate. You just basically have to spend 15-20 minutes setting up the initial discovery and then the backup policies, and then literally it just runs itself. Most customers just sign in to kick off a restore, or they basically want to run a report around the backup status, or how many reports, or what users has logged in and what activities have been carried out. So we fully audit who logs in, what tasks they carry out, for example. So it's really easy to use. The reason why the retention policy, and this is me going back to the recycle bins that Microsoft provides. So Microsoft do provide a base level of protection for your data. It would be very unfair of me to stand up and say Microsoft don't provide any protection at all. But the key thing is it's about the time or the duration that Microsoft protects your data. So you'll see on this slide that with extended policies that you can run a PowerShell script, you can extend a lot of the default policies to hold site collection bins for up to 93 days. So things like your SharePoint data, your OneDrive data can be kept for 3 calendar months. But for a lot of our organizations, when you think about GDPR and retention policies, certain data needs to be kept for longer. We know email data is a very common one. You know, a lot of organizations will keep emails for 7 years plus. But we're also seeing increasing evidence, you know, from speaking to customers that it's not unusual for Office 365 customers to keep, for example, SharePoint backups for 3 years. You know, we've got customers keeping OneDrive backups for 12 months minimum, you know. So from a GDPR perspective, you've got to remember that you own the data. And if you need to keep data for longer than 93 days, then you need to think about storing, having another mechanism in place to protect your data. The other thing as well is that Microsoft Teams doesn't have a site collection bin. It's a little bit more complicated with Teams because the documents are held in SharePoint, in site collection, Teams collection sites. So you can extend up to 93 days for content within Teams, but the Teams channels themselves are typically held for about 21 days that they can be restored. So if you accidentally delete a Teams channel and it's been more than 3 weeks, you know, you would have to recreate it from scratch if you didn't have a backup solution. So when you compare that to the Barracuda solution, we are holding all your backup for an unlimited amount of time, and it's secure. You have a second copy of all your data held in a different cloud environment to where your Office 365 tenancy is located. As we say, you know, we believe, as Mike showed in the demo, a pretty switched on admin guy would be able to navigate around our cloud-to-cloud backup interface within 5-10 minutes and understand how to do most tasks, how to set up the initial backup policies. We provide that unlimited storage and retention, which gives organizations peace of mind that they're not going to be under any pressure to release data. I've seen a lot of competitive products on the market that license about by the amount of storage you consume. And the danger with that is that it starts off really cost effectively, but over time, the costs just constantly increase. And then organizations get into this, oh, well, we'll start reducing our retention policy to reduce the amount of storage we consume to hold our backups. And that, as soon as you start doing that, that's when you'll get the call. Can we go back 6 months and pull this back for John in accounts? And then you'll say, oh, well, we had to reduce our retention policy to 3 months, and anything older than 3 months is now gone. You don't want to be in that situation. I think we've all been in that scenario with on-premise backup solutions. You certainly don't want to be in that situation with your Office 365 backups. And there's no worries about losing data. Everything that gets backed up is secured, and it's really, really easy to search and retrieve at individual email item level, individual document level held in SharePoint or OneDrive. You can also recover whole folder structures or collection site data, etc. as well. So it doesn't matter if you need to do a recovery, a large recovery to recover from something like a ransomware attack, or if you want to do very filtered search retrieval kind of recoveries as well. Just to give you a perspective of our business, we have nearly 15,000 cloud-to-cloud backup customers running worldwide. We have a huge amount in EMEA. We are one of the strongest regions globally for our Barracuda business in terms of cloud-to-cloud backup customers. We're running about 2.5 million backup jobs every month. We store about 25 petabytes worth of Office 365 backups in our cloud. And on average, we see about 8,500 restore jobs get actioned every month from our users. Similar to Microsoft, we're not spying on people, we just collect the telemetry data that gives us these statistics. So we're not, looking into anybody's backups or anything like that. It's all secure and encrypted. It's just we can collect the statistics around how our cloud-to-cloud backup is being used. Oops, wrong way. So one thing also to mention, which has been quite a recent addition, is that as our cloud-to-cloud backup and our Barracuda backup, which is more of an appliance-based on-premise backup solution, is also built on the Azure marketplace now. So customers have a choice. They can either buy it in the traditional sense of going through a Barracuda reseller, and contacting Barracuda to license and buy these products, or they can use a Microsoft partner or purchase direct on the Azure marketplace. So this is really exciting for us, and we believe as we move to the new release that this is just going to grow exponentially for our business, and it's going to make it easier for customers to consume our products in the Azure cloud and the Azure marketplace going forward as well. There is also a free trial available, so if anybody wants to test and try out our cloud-to-cloud backup, they can just sign up on our website. If you just search trials, we have a trials page for all our products. You click on there and click on cloud-to-cloud backup, and we'll give you a 14-day trial that you can test it out, discover your Office 365 tenancy, start backing it up, and then you can have a play with some of the restore and see how easy it is to use and how easy it is to initiate restores of your Office 365 data as well. The product has been designed to be simple. We live in a very busy world where typical IT guys are having to wear multiple hats every day, managing security, networking, storage infrastructure, desktop management, patching. The last thing they need is to spend weeks and weeks learning a new backup product. They want something that's easy to use, it's intuitive, it's cost effective, and it provides the protection and the certainty their business needs around a compliance perspective. So that's me kind of wrapped up the session. We're going to open it up for questions now. I appreciate the Q&A button's been going mad in Zoom, so I'll need to have a look at that. But happy to pass back to Chris and open it up for questions.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. You're right. We have been getting a load in, and so we're waiting to. You actually covered some of the questions during your speech, so I wouldn't mind if you just give that a quick look over whilst we're wrapping up, and you can jump in and see if anything else needs answering. And if it doesn't, we can obviously take these questions and send them back to you. First and foremost, thank you all for your investment in time today. We're just over an hour. I know we put an hour and a half on the agenda, but that is a long time for a webinar. But I know we had a lot of content to get through, and I want to go back and thank Mike again for giving us, incredibly helpful, informative, educational presentation on how to position your business with Microsoft, but also then how it tailors into the partnership with us. I thought that was really incredibly useful, and I hope you found that useful too. We will send out the recording link straight after this, so you're welcome to drop off now if you're not invested in the Q&As. This is the end of the webinar on that front, so thank you very much again for your time. And again, 54 countries, completely mad. I saw that there were hundreds of you on the call, which is great, and I want to echo Mike's words in saying, I hope everyone can stay safe around the world and do the best they can in these strange times we're in. But coming back to Charlie, I want to thank you too for going through the current positioning. How are you getting on with those questions there, Charlie? That number seems to be going up, not down, so I'm not sure I'm going the right way.
Yeah, I'm responding to them as we speak.
Excellent. Okay. So I also invited, I might put him on the spot if he's still on, Stephen Peake, who runs our technical architects team. I asked him to jump on as well. So Steve, if you're on, feel free to jump in and answer some of those questions too.
Yes, already underway.
Whilst Charlie's just going through those. Good man. Thank you, sir. And Mike, any closing words from your side?
Of course, if I want to speak, I need to unmute. No, I found it myself very interesting, and I love the alignation that Barracuda and Microsoft have together. And I hope we can still reach a lot of new people with our solutions, and that the collaboration can stay on, and that everybody will be happy and safe in the future. And next time that we do this, we should be doing this on stage because it's way too much fun.
Yeah, and also, there's I'm sure the questions came around Teams, so Barracuda use Zoom and Teams, so thank you for Mike for taking one for the team and doing this one on Zoom. That's very much appreciated. It's definitely part of our portfolio as well, so I know that was an inside joke, but thank you for that. Okay, so thank you to everyone. You're obviously free to leave. Charlie, I'm just going to pass back to you to see if you want to answer any of those questions verbally, or just keep tapping away in that box?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I'm just going to tap away because then there's an audit trail in the logs if I type the answer rather than give it verbally. So if you are waiting for me to answer a question, please just stay on the Zoom for the next 5 minutes and I'll get through all the questions and get them answered now.
Awesome. Okay. So thank you very much, Mike. You're free to drop off and go and enjoy your day. And thank you, everyone else, for joining this Barracuda and Microsoft webinar. I hope you have a great day.